Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our App of the Month webinar for May. We're just going to give everybody a couple of moments to get into the room, but if you can see the title slide and you can hear me speaking, just maybe drop a note in chat. Let us know where you're joining us from today. We have bright blue sunshine here in Norfolk, so hopefully everybody else is experiencing the same clear blue skies. Spring has finally arrived, but nobody's posted anything in chat yet. So deal with my anxiety and somebody just let us know that you can see and hear. We have had a couple of occasions. Oh, there we go. Chat box working. I was going to say we've had problems with the chat box before. Thank you, Karen. Good morning, Chris. Sunny Yorkshire. Excellent. Good stuff. Right. So everybody is coming in and everybody can hear us. So we will get underway. Again, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out to join us for this month's App of the Month webinar. I'm really excited. This is a pet topic of mine. I love talking about real-time and live accounting and bookkeeping. You're in for a bit of a treat. The plan is we're going to aim to be done for 11:15, but if we get bombarded with questions, both Paul and I are happy to hang around a little bit longer to answer any questions that people have got at the end of the session. And as you can see, we are talking about unlocking the power of real-time data collection and accurate reporting. If you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A box. I'll be monitoring that as we go through. So if there's anything that's kind of pressing, I'll jump in. Otherwise, we'll catch them all at the end for you. But again, thank you for taking some time out of your morning to join us. For those that don't know me, I'm Will Farnell. I'm founder at Farnell Clark and co-founder at App Advisory Plus. And I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Lodder today from Dext. Good morning, Paul. Do you want to just do a quick introduction, let people know who you are?
I can do. Morning, everybody. So I'm our VP of Accounting and Product Strategy here at Dext. I've been at Dext a couple of years, but prior to that, I was actually in practice as well. So I was in practice for just over 20 years. And like Will, who I've known for many, many years, have a very strong passion and sort of excitement around everything related to tech and how it can help.
And thank you, Paul. And I always enjoy these short calls because I think you are the only other person I know that gets as excited as I do about delay date indexes, which we're going to talk about during the session. I have no doubt. This is what we're going to be covering today. We've done some quick welcomes and intros. We're going to talk about why real-time data is critical to the modern firm. We're going to talk about how we make the most of that data by undertaking regular bookkeeping. We're going to talk about delivering insights to increase the experiences that we deliver to our clients, how to make it happen. I talk to firms all the time in terms of trying to move from quarterly bookkeeping to monthly to weekly to daily, whatever it is. And even firms I've worked with directly to do this, it's not easy. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we make it happen. Where do you start? What's the process? And we're going to talk about the role for Dext as your bookkeeping management solution. And this is something that I've talked to Dext about many times. I've always said that even in the really early days, we started using Dext at Farnell Clark in 2011. Receipt Bank as it was back then, and it was never just an extraction tool for me. It was never a data extraction tool. It was always a mechanism that let me manage and control the way that we did bookkeeping for our clients. So we're going to dig into kind of what's happened, because it's a very different product now to the one that we started working with kind of almost 12 years ago. So Paul's going to share some of the things that I'm sure that even our team are not doing with the products, and we've got plenty of time for questions at the end. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. But Paul, do you want to just, in case anybody doesn't know, do you want to just give people an introduction of Dext and what you guys do?
I can do. So at Dext, we've got three products: Dext Precision, Dext Prepare, and Dext Commerce. Starting with Dext Prepare. Dext Prepare, as Will has mentioned, is our sort of bookkeeping management system. It's more than just a tool that just extracts data from invoices. We do so much more in terms of providing valuable insights. with Dext Prepare, we have over 330 million documents processed through Dext Prepare every year, and the level of accuracy is now at 99%. We have a lot of AI and machine learning in there, so it's really a powerful tool to save a huge amount of time and really automate that bookkeeping process for not only yourself but also for your clients. And then we've got the insights on top of that that really help you manage the work that you're performing. We've then got Dext Commerce. Dext Commerce, in a way similar to Prepare, except Dext Commerce is collating and collecting all of the information from e-commerce platforms and point of sale systems, gets all of that information from Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and we integrate with over 30 different e-commerce platforms, everything line by line, deals with all of the sort of correct VAT mapping, deals with all of the grossing up, and just ensures that completeness of records and constantly gets that information from those platforms that your clients may be using. And then we've got Dext Precision, which actually sits after the accounting software. And for me, that's your sort of comfort blanket in one way, and that it's constantly checking the data for accuracy, but also goes further in terms of helping you standardize your current systems and processes with the flows we have in there, and then can help with things like pricing as well. So when you look at Dext Precision, that's very much your sort of quality control tool, as well as a systems and process tool for standardization and consistency.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Great summary. And I want to pick something up you said there about 99% accuracy, because one of the things that we talked about in kind of prepping for this webinar was trust in software. So you've got a product that's been refined over a long period of time, delivering 99% accuracy. We've got the ability to set auto-publish. We've got the ability to set supplier rules. You talked, it was your words in terms of we've got to help people trust the software. Anything to kind of just kick the conversation off here in terms of we're probably 37% auto publish or supplier rules, so we're clearly not doing enough in our firm on this. What is it that's stopping firms do it, and what are you guys doing to kind of help us with this?
I think trust is a huge thing on all technology, whether it's you're downloading your banking app for the first time or using Apple Pay, whatever it may be, or using new technology. We're so used to doing it in a traditional way of typing out the information and double checking it all. And you suddenly start to implement new technology, and there's that tendency you want to double check and you want to just make sure that everything has been extracted. So for me, with trust builds over a period of time. Trust doesn't just happen overnight. And often, to really help build trust, you've got to start with some of those less complex invoices, let's say, for things like auto-publish, auto-categorization. So we provide some insights on which suppliers you've got auto-publish on and auto-categorization on. Now, that may just be on a utility bill or a phone bill. If it's a phone bill, it's always probably going to go to telephone. You're not going to use it suddenly for an invoice from Amazon, which could relate to a number of different elements of expenditure. And the visibility that we provide can really help enforce and build on that trust, because if you've got it set up for one client and it's working well, then there's a good chance that that same client may have the same supplier, in which case, why don't you turn it on for that supplier? And you start to build from there and start to chip away at these suppliers. And at the same time, that will start to build trust. Linked with all of that, there's also this hesitation that people are always worried that maybe automation is going to replace them. Automation is never going to replace accountants or bookkeepers. It's going to create new opportunities. It's going to create capacity and allow you to potentially work closer, more frequently with clients and really help them, towards their personal and their business goals.
Perfect. And just for context, as we start to talk about kind of why this idea of kind of, you use the term real time, I use the term live accounting data, because I'm I'm a little uneasy about real time because we're not there, and we're not going to get there. I mean, we do really well if we hit 5 days in terms of delay day index, 5 days in terms of getting paperwork from our client, but that means it's never going to be real time. So I talk about live accounting data. And just for context for people that don't know, so we moved all of our clients to cloud accounting tools in 2009. We were one of the first firms globally to do that. But when we first started doing that, we were still keying data. Receipt Bank, as it became, well, Receipt Farm, I think it started like that. Wasn't there. It wasn't ready for us. And it wasn't until kind of 2011 that I had, in my last book, I referred to what I call a penny drop moment, when literally I'd not used Receipt Bank for a while because I didn't get it, because it was like you put your receipts in an envelope, post it off, Receipt Bank, go to work. I thought, hang on, they're doing my job for me. But the app was launched, and that was a penny drop moment. So, oh, hang on a second, I can give my clients the app, they can photo their receipts, we get them really quickly. You know what, we can do bookkeeping really regularly, and we can see what's going on. So that was the start for us, and it enabled us to build a completely different business model for our firm. And I've written about it in the digital firm, and I talk about it again in the human firm. That's me. So that's why I think real-time data is absolutely critical. It drives everything that we do in terms of giving clients insight into what we're doing. We have this technology at our fingertips, so it's a crime not to use it to do this in the right way. And I'll ask for your views on this in a moment, Paul. But before I do, one of the things that I said at Accountex and somebody picked up is if anybody's worked in industry, and you've worked as a bookkeeper, you've worked as a financial controller, if you didn't reconcile the bank every day, how long would you keep your job? The likelihood is it wouldn't be for very long. Yeah, as accountants and bookkeepers, when we're delivering services for clients, we are content to do bookkeeping on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. In the main, I'm not saying everybody's doing this, but ask yourself, is that okay? And why are you doing it? Because what happens when we do it as a service provider is that we're doing it to meet an end goal. We're doing it to do a VAT return. We're doing it to do a set of management accounts, rather than doing it because the bookkeeping is really, really important. So just as a start point, in terms of if you are currently offering a bookkeeping service to clients and you're positioning it as a monthly or a quarterly service, my challenge to you is that good enough? And why are you doing it on a monthly or quarterly basis? Why aren't you doing it on a weekly basis or a daily basis? So, Paul, why is real-time data critical to the modern accounting firm?
I mean, for me, it's the door opener to everything. I mean, as you know, I talk about this real-time data collection as the first point, because if you can't get the information in at the start, as close to the transaction as possible, you can't then move towards the next stage of all of the real-time reporting or the up-to-date insights. And, you know, clients are asking more and more questions. And if you haven't got those at least sort of up-to-date numbers, it becomes more of a challenge. You've got to, you know, put them on hold, or say you'll come back to them in a few days while you get everything updated. And I think if you move towards this real-time data collection and then real-time processing, you can really start to bring in this sort of flexible, agile team who can actually move between clients, potentially keeping everything up to date. So for me, all of it leads into, what is it you're ultimately trying to support your clients on? You're trying to help your clients achieve something, get to somewhere. And if you've got up-to-date numbers, you can really start to have more strategic conversations. You can have your finger on the pulse. You can identify opportunities maybe much sooner. You can potentially identify potential issues much sooner as well, you know, and that may just be around VAT registration. You know, the number of times I can remember in practice many, many years ago where, you know, client is trading quite happily, you get to the year end, and then you find actually halfway through the year, they did go over the VAT threshold, you know, and you're then having to go back and work out what the VAT implications are and what potentially cash flow implications are as well. So up to date, as close to up to date numbers as possible is key to so many conversations. But The step before is that change management of using a mobile app or uploading the documents real time is the starting point to drive everything else.
Yeah. So Paul, you and I kind of clearly kind of get this. We've been champing on about the importance of regular bookkeeping for as long as you and I have known each other. And for those listening, I mean, the key thing here is adoption levels. People will have heard me talk about adoption levels. I don't believe we're beyond 20% adoption in the UK in terms of firms using core cloud accounting tools, let alone fully integrating a product like Dext into the mix and connecting bank feeds. Once we get that, we're at 20% of the 20% at best. So most people are not still doing this. What's stopping them, Paul?
I think there's a few things. I think there'll always be this element of time. Everyone's really, really busy. I haven't got time to do it. I'm being challenged by my client or being asked by clients to focus on something else. So unless ultimately to really drive adoption and to move forward as a sort of, as a digital firm in the future, my view is you always have to have someone accountable to really drive it forward. If you haven't got that accountability, then no one's really taking that ownership. And accountability is different to responsibility. You could have lots of individuals who are responsible, but you need one person who's ultimately accountable. And we're now starting to see across many firms, digital leads or digital partner or cloud champion, whose pure focus is to really move the business forward as a digital firm. And many of these individuals, which is a real change more recently, don't necessarily have chargeable time as well, which is a new sort of concept. But in my mind, that tech partner or digital partner or digital lead, whoever they may be, is no different to having a separate tax partner and things like that. This is a whole new service offering that really adds value to clients, really can help strengthen relationships and interactions as well, and actually allows you to expand into other areas like a strategic advisor or expanding your whole bookkeeping service. Many years ago, bookkeeping all dropped off and things like that. Payments wasn't even considered, or doing more of that process or chasing customers. Technology allows you to do more. It creates capacity. It allows you to empower team members as well. And when retention and recruitment is a challenge, you want to keep your team. And for me, technology really creates opportunity. So time is a big thing that does prevent it. And then worry, I think, is a big thing. People are worried about the impact of technology. What's it going to mean for them? And this is where you've got to bring the team on the journey. You've got to reassure them, demonstrate the value it's going to bring and actually the opportunities it's going to bring for them as well in terms of their own professional development. So team is a challenge, and then clients are a challenge as well. But clients trust their accountants and bookkeepers. Clients used to ask me absolutely everything. It wasn't even always related to the business, so they will trust you. And as long as you're there to support them on that journey as well, start slow. Often it's doing too much too soon can lead to failure and disappointment and a feeling of being overwhelmed because you're trying to achieve too much too soon. So it's about setting realistic targets as well that are achievable, bringing everyone on the journey, and having that accountability as well.
Yeah, and a few things you kind of mentioned in there highlights kind of the importance of certainly visibility of what we're doing and how we go about measuring what we're doing, because I'm guessing that most people are on this call are on it because they're keen to make sure that they are getting the best out of the technology, they're doing the right things. And it may be that people have got a chunk of their clients using Dext and a chunk that aren't. So it's like, what do we do, and how does the technology help us get that visibility of what's going on, down to things like so we're going to talk about practice insights, and we're probably at a reasonable time for you to kind of jump in fairly soon and just share some of the things that that you and I talk about. It's like the visibility of you've got X number of clients loaded, and this is a percentage that are active and have used the product in the last 30 days.
100% for me, and we've talked about this a lot. I always followed three important things: that measurability, visibility, and accountability. If you can't measure what you're trying to achieve, how do you know you've been successful or not? If you haven't got visibility of it, you're not bringing the team on that journey with you, and that may challenge with buy-in. And also visibility helps you keep on track. You know where you are, you know whether you're improving, and then the accountability point for someone to make sure that this is all being looked at and adjusted where necessary. Things often have to change in terms of what your original plan was to where you end up going.
Yeah, and I talk to firms all the time about kind of using Dext and how they use Dext and the visibility of the data, because obviously we'll have people on here that are using different levels of Dext products, and for me the unlocking that, taking Dext from being a tool that gets you data to a tool that drives your bookkeeping processes, is around the visibility of insights and what's going on and opportunities for improvement, and that's all in insights, and insights is kind of a big development area for you, isn't it? So I mean, do you want to kind of share your screen for a few minutes and just kind of give some stuff that people should be looking at to drive better efficiency, better effectiveness, visibility of what's going on? And if anybody has never seen this, then you want to have a chat with your Dext account managers, because this is kind of critical to understanding how your team is using Dext and how your clients are using Dext to help you work more effectively.
100%. So, this was something I didn't have when I was in practice, but would have made my life so much easier with managing a team and the allocation of work. And what I'll do is just jump into a couple of these just to show you how these insights can be used, and comes back to Will's point of Dext being more than just an extraction tool, but actually that sort of bookkeeping management system as well, helping you really take control of where things are. So if we were to just look in the first widget, this just shows you the number of items to action, whether there's transactions already there and waiting that can just be published because they've already been categorized, and then transactions to review as well. What we do show is number of clients with the top number of items to review or process and publish as well. But where it starts to get really powerful, and this filter that I'm going to show you is all the way through all of these insights that we provide, is there may be a natural tendency. Someone may say, I haven't got any work to do, I finished the job early, records haven't come in, whatever it may be, and you've got to try and find them some other work potentially to look at. And the natural tendency may be to always just go to that client with the most number of transactions outstanding, but you may not be responsible for the bookkeeping on that client. The client may do their own bookkeeping. And what we have within the filters is you're able to separate out those clients that you're responsible for the bookkeeping on and those clients who do their own bookkeeping. And if we were to just click the practice, you've also got the ability to look at whether you're actually engaged to do daily, bi-weekly, weekly or monthly bookkeeping as well. So it may be a case when you start using these filters, and I'll not worry about that the list will change, and it could change the view on where you focus. You could also look at it from a client who does their own bookkeeping, and this could be an opportunity to pick up the phone to the client and say, look, you've got 100 items, 200 items outstanding. Do you need any support? Can we help you in any way? Do you want to outsource the bookkeeping potentially as well? You've got the ability to look at individual clients or the ability to look at individual team members. So it's the filters here that can really bring these insights alive and can really help you start to manage which job should you be focused on. Is anyone got too much work to do? If we're engaged to do daily bookkeeping, have a look at it at the end of every day. And are there any clients there that you're down to do daily bookkeeping for? And there's transactions outstanding. Why are there transactions outstanding? If someone phones in sick, filter by the individual, look at the daily bookkeeping, and then have a quick look to see who else could pick that up. So rather than us just showing you the number of transactions outstanding, the filters start to bring it more alive and help you make better decisions in terms of who should be doing the work. Are we behind on anything? Does a client need any support? The other one I will show you, which is the one Will and I do talk about a lot, is the delay day index. And again, you can use the necessary filters. I don't have a huge amount of data here, but the delay day index looks at the date a document was uploaded against the date on that document. And the longer that date, or the greater that delay day index, the greater likelihood is that when you're running various reports, that they may not be complete, they may not be up to date. And one of the examples I always give is, if you've got a VAT return to do, and in essence 37 days from the end of the quarter to the date it needs to be submitted and paid, that delay day index is 40 days or greater than 37 days. There's a good chance that there could be invoices missing, because there probably has been, on average, historically. That could have VAT implications, cash flow implications as well. So one of the big drivers for me is getting that delay day index down, and that gives you comfort that you've probably got completeness of records. If you've got completeness of records, there's a good chance that when you start doing that year-end accounts or management information, there won't be any discrepancies that potentially arise. And again, this is where the person who's overall accountable for it, they could set a target. So the measurability bit could be, I want to get the delay day index down to less than 15 as the starting point. You've got the visibility of it there as well, because they'll all be listed, and you've got that person driving it forward. And I know, Will, you always aim to get everything up to date around a sort of target day of 5, I think it is.
Yeah, we generally run at 5 to 6 days across our client base. And I think the point with this is that you can see it at individual client level as well. So much of this is equally about educating your clients in terms of why this stuff's important as well. So that gives you the ability to be able to say, right, these are the clients that need kicking a bit more regularly, because they're not getting the data to us as fast. And the whole point is that clients don't know what they don't know. So it's our job to help them understand why they need to do this stuff, what that lets us do for them, so that you get them on side. Like we talked about getting your team on side, but we've got to get our clients on side as well and really understand what's happening here.
100%. And I'm sure we've all experienced it with VAT returns. How many of your VAT returns are actually completed in the last week towards the deadline? Imagine a world where actually you can get that VAT return more or less completed within the first week of the quarter ending, because everything is coming through in a sort of as close to real time as possible. Other things, and I won't go into all of these in as much detail, but sort of your least active clients, looking at how many how active have they been? Is there a drop off? Is there a reason for that? This is just about maybe having a bit more of a look, picking up the phone to the client, checking everything is okay. Is business okay? Is there a reason why they're not putting their transactions on? Are they swamped in other areas? Do they need support?
And if they need, so this is the opportunity that you can be going to clients saying, look, I see you haven't done anything on your bookkeeping for 30 days, because the inactive clients on the main dashboard here shows you the number of clients that have not accessed the system for 30 days. So they haven't uploaded a receipt or whatever. This is an opportunity for you to go in and say, look, you're obviously clearly really busy. We can help you do your bookkeeping and drive those conversations, as Paul says.
Potentially. And, there may be opportunities to then do a training session, or there may be an opportunity to have a breakfast seminar or whatever it may be, just to help your clients who are doing a lot of the processing themselves also to see the maximum efficiencies and benefits of using technology. So it's working for both of you, you know, irrespective of who's actually engaged to do the bookkeeping. And then the last one I'll show you is our rules. So this is showing you which suppliers against which clients as well have certain functionality turned on, being auto categorization and auto publish. And what you may find is, and this is where the filters come into a great use again, is if auto categorization and auto publish works for one particular supplier, there's a good chance it should just work on another client who has the same supplier. You could look at it by team and see, is there a particular team member who's actually turning on auto categorization and auto publish a lot? Does that correlate to time being spent as well? One of the things I'm starting to see with many of the firms I speak to is they're now starting to download all of this information. One of the reasons we put the practice code in there, so you can put the practice code against all of your clients, is they're downloading this information and then they're actually combining it with data from their practice management system and seeing if there's any correlation between level of automation, delay day index, and time being charged, and looking at the number of transactions to see why is it in, you know, because we can do location as well. Office A are spending more time on average on bookkeeping compared to Office B, and that may be because Office B is low delay day index and they're using auto categorization and auto publish and using some of the other sort of functionality that we have. Why is it individual A is spending less time compared to individual B? So it's using these filters and then potentially going one step further and combining it with other data sets can really take it to another level and really help you understand some of the areas where there may be the ability to improve overall efficiency and productivity. And ultimately it's that time element. We can give you more time back. You can choose how you want to use that time.
Yeah, Paul, we had a question saying, can you explain how you get to this point of being able to do this kind of granular level of reporting? I think this is all putting settings on individual clients, isn't it?
There's a number of settings. So within the My Team bit and the My Clients bit is where you can start putting in the necessary settings. So within colleagues, I think there is a setting in here for their location. If you've got multiple offices or you've got different teams, you may have individuals in different teams, so you can set up different locations. And then we also have within clients as well, where you can start editing some of the settings here, so you can put in your practice code as well. And let me just I'm just trying to find where you put in the frequency. It will come back to me on the frequency. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I look at it all the time. But I'll check that one as well. But it is in the client and user settings.
And you obviously add the client managers and team members and things in there as well, so that's what gives you that visibility. Correct. To be able to filter based on individual team members and so on. Or do you, the other way, to allocate a client to a user?
Let me I think I was in a client, which may have been why I may not have seen everything. Let me just bear with me. Let me just go back in because I'm clicking on the wrong bit. Bookkeeping settings here, as to whether you're responsible for the bookkeeping or not. And if it's on, you can then select the frequency as well. So it's all in the bottom part of the menu bar. We are looking at improving further some of the functionality on all of this as well to make it easier for changes. But as you can see here, we can now upload practice codes as well in bulk, which for some may not be as important, but for me, practice code was always the thing that I referred to, and I still remember some of the codes for some of my clients. rather than the names.
Perfect. Excellent. So a bit of insight there, just in terms of how you can start to get that kind of, particularly around measurability, visibility and accountability that Paul mentioned, in terms of what helped your clients need, what helped your team need, what are the what parts of your team are working more effectively than others, and what are they doing that might be different to somebody else. It's really hard to ensure you get full consistency across the way that everybody does things. Some people will have done it longer, and some people will have watched more training videos and whatever else. So it's about identify the things that are working in your firm to drive that efficiency in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think linked with all of that, with more people potentially working from home or working from anywhere, or more this flexible working, the dashboards we have across all of the Dext products really helps bring an element of control back. You can see where things are, you can see where everything's up to date, you can follow up as necessary and prevent a client picking up the phone to you asking, why haven't you processed everything? It's that snapshot end of every day, potentially, for the person who's not doing the work, but is in charge of the client, the manager, the partner, whoever it may be, to just have a quick look and to filter by them where necessary, or by individuals.
Yeah. So we've kind of touched on the fact that in with the technology that's available to us now, it's quite clear that we should be using it to deliver much more frequent data for our clients, because every firm that I've worked with wants to get closer to their client. They want to deliver greater value. And if we really focus on delivering greater value for our clients, the byproduct of delivering greater value is that we're going to generate more revenue. Paul mentioned, and I started my firm with the same view, that bookkeeping was something that was difficult to do profitably. It was perceived low value. As accountants, we thought that we should leave that to bookkeepers. The technology has changed all of that. Everything starts with the bookkeeping data. So it's really important that we find ways to drive that. And my challenge to everybody listening is everybody should be striving for daily processing. It would probably be wrong of me to say that we do true daily bookkeeping. We process transactions on a daily basis. We reconcile a bank account on a daily basis. We position our bookkeeping to clients as a weekly service, because clients are soon going to get fed up if we're chasing them every day for a £2.50 Tesco receipt. But by going out and kind of having those frequent touch points with a client on a weekly basis, where you are saying, right, we've got everything up to date, we've got a couple of receipts missing here that we just need to kind of finish the bank reconciliation. You're having a conversation with your clients every single week. That's 52 conversations at least a year. And it wasn't that long ago that if we had one conversation a year with a client, two if we were really lucky, that was kind of the norm, and it's not good enough. We have the ability to do much more. We're probably doing weekly bookkeeping for about 60% of our client base. Our outsourced finance functions are our big growth area. The tech has enabled us to do this and deliver much more for the clients that we serve. So we know that doing it's the right thing. We know that doing it daily, if you can get to that point, should be the goal for everybody. We know that by doing it, we're going to deliver greater insights for our clients, which are going to increase the client experience that they get, which means they're going to refer us and talk to people. So like everything we've said here it's a win-win. It's a no-brainer. So how do we make it happen, Paul? From kind of a start point, if we've got people here that have perhaps got to monthly, where should people start to kind of make this transition?
I mean, the starting point is making sure you've identified within your team who are going to be the advocates who have got the passion, the drive, and the excitement. I think one of the biggest things with adopting technology and then making change is the importance of having someone who's got that passion and excitement for it. I always absolutely loved it, and I was just constantly looking for new ways of improving current processes and systems. So that number one is, is so important, identifying the right individuals, because they will be the ones who help drive it forward. I think number two is then actually identifying and mapping out what are your current processes and systems. Where do you see some of the challenges? Why are things not operating how you would like them to operate? Because it's very easy, you know, every quarter just say, oh, we'll look at it next quarter, and then next quarter happens and you're really busy and we'll look at it next quarter. So map out current processes and systems and identify where there's areas that could potentially be improved without too much of a challenge or too much difficulty, and then start chipping away at small amounts. Don't try and do the whole lot in one go, because it won't work. It will just fail, and people will get overwhelmed, and it will become a challenge. So start breaking it down into snippets. And if that means, you know, first of all with clients about, can you use the mobile app more, or can you get the information to us more frequently, just focus on that. Set realistic targets, work with your client on that. Or if there's an issue with the team around they need more training or may need more support, then focus on that part. But this is a journey, and the whole digital journey isn't just going to stop once you've done that. Digitalization is just going to continue and continue and continue, and it's going to get more and more powerful in terms of what can be done. So define what you want to achieve, what are the pain points, what would make the difference, and then start working from there.
Yeah, perfect. And I think that, as Paul said, the technology is going to get better and better. It's going to automate more and more of what we do. So we've got to start thinking about, what does that look like for us in 3 years, in 5 years' time? Where is the value that we're going to deliver? And we need to be starting to build those propositions for our clients now, in terms of when the technology is doing more of this stuff, we're still going to be relevant because we're having the conversations. We're taking the data, because it's fine getting the regular data from the client. Getting the client photoing their receipts every day is great, but it's only great if you do something with it. So you've then got to process it. You've then got to turn it into information that's meaningful. And then you've got to use it to have a conversation with your client. And that's where the insight comes in. And getting closer to the client, by getting closer to the client, talking to them every week, even if it's about a couple of missing receipts, it gives you the opportunity for a conversation. And we all hear all this talk about advisory, and advisory is simple. It's great relationships, and it means that every client you got picks up the phone, asks every question you've got, and we do that by building those relationships. Paul, you were going to say something.
I was going to completely say, you phrase it slightly different to me, but it's exactly the same thing. Advisory for me was just always helping my clients. You know, yeah. I wanted to help them. I wanted to answer their questions, and people will often say, oh, I haven't got the time to speak to all of my clients. But then it comes all the way back full circle. Technology creates capacity. It gives you time back. That time can then be used to have more conversations with clients, but you can't go straight to those insights and advisory bit until you've dealt with the start of the flow. And that's all about the data collection, the processing, getting good solid systems and processes in place. You know, and the example I often give, and I'm probably spoken to you about it on many webinars, is if you think about McDonald's has the perfect workflow from start to finish. In my mind, bookkeeping should be the same sort of thought process. Everything is in the right place, in the right order, with the right process that everyone follows, consistency, which means the outputs are pretty much always the same, consistent, standardized outputs. Bookkeeping, same sort of process. Think about that process from start to finish, and then it opens up the door to so many other opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone's got any questions, pop them in. I've got one here, Paul. I'll kind of flag up some of the key takeaways for people to think about. But if anybody's got any questions, pop them in the Q&A. This one came in kind of early on when we were talking about auto-publish. And it says, how does auto-publish work with descriptions of what is on the invoice? Will it pull it through? So my initial answer to that, I'll let you come to it, is obviously the invoice gets pulled through. So the first point is, what do you need? Think about what you need the description for, because you're naturally going to get supplier, date, category, a copy of the invoice going to pull through to your GL. But Paul, anything specifically from the way the tech works on that?
Yeah, no, I think so. So you can set up supplier rules for each individual supplier. You can decide whether you want line item extraction turned on as well. So we'll extract the details on the invoice. In terms of any description that's been manually entered, we're working on more functionality around that as we speak to really provide more of that complete sort of picture. But my view is you don't need auto publish for everything. There's certain things you shouldn't turn it on for because there's a risk in terms of the nature of the transaction. You should use it on those invoices, those suppliers where you know that the nature of the transaction is never going to change, where you don't need to check it. Any check that you do will probably be a bit of analytical review at a certain point in time. So think about your utilities, your phone bills, your own accountancy invoices, things like that. The nature isn't going to change. Anything where there's a risk of repair versus capital, that's where at the moment, although we're looking at to see how we can use sort of more machine learning to help with all of this, but at the moment, anything where there's a risk of capital versus revenue, you may just continue in the normal manner in that it just needs that quick review at the end.
Yeah, perfect. So again, if anybody's got any questions, I'll come to those in just a second. In terms of key things to take away from this, I mean, we talked about it. Make sure your team's on the journey with you. Make sure that everybody understands why you're doing what you're doing, what the benefit is to the client, and what the benefit is to the team in terms of adopting new working. I often say that the common denominator in every accounting firm I've ever been into is everyone cares about the client. So the change that we're asking you to do here is in the interest of the client. So make sure everybody understands that, get the team on the journey with you and make sure they understand why you're doing what you're doing. And quite simply, make your bookkeeping more regular than it is now. So if you're doing quarterly, aim for monthly. If you're doing monthly, aim for weekly. If you're doing weekly, aim for daily. Just look to constantly do a bit better than you were yesterday. We use this term a lot in our firm, and Paul mentioned it as well. This idea of fail fast. If something's not going to work, get it out of the way, do it. Be flexible, be agile, because that's what's going to make it happen for you ultimately. Utilize the tools to measure effectiveness and areas of improvement. We looked at practice insights. I was really keen, as Paul and I were talking, that we shared what practice insights can uncover for you, just in terms of what's working, what's not working, areas of best practice, areas where clients need a bit more support. And ultimately, all of this is about driving better conversations. So the reason that I wanted to do daily bookkeeping in my firm, however many years ago it was now, is I just wanted to have better conversations with clients. I wanted to have more regular conversations with clients. And building services that facilitate that is the way to go. And daily bookkeeping is an obvious one to do that. Let's look at this last question. Paul, question, have you in the pipeline the possibility of using Dext to manage accounts payable and accounts receivable, whether that's kind of end-to-end procure to pay? I'm not quite sure, but what's the thinking here?
So yes, I'm spending a lot of time at the moment. So very much my own sort of thought process and conversations I'm having internally, we want to continue to play to our strengths and complete workflows. So we are certainly exploring, can we complete the AP&A workflow all the way through to payments and receipts as well. So all of that is being discussed. We're not going to suddenly branch out into other areas where we, you know, the phrase I use is we don't have a right to play, because there's lots of other brilliant products out there. Our core is that sort of getting the data, the extraction of the data, the accuracy of that data. And it's a natural step for us to see if we can expand into that AP/AR.
Yeah, and there's some great integrations with tools like Approval Max anyway, aren't there, which we use internally to kind of give you that approval process, and their payments is a really exciting area at the moment. There's lots of choice out there, and some great firms doing stuff with payments as well. And from an AR point of view, I mean, you're certainly collecting kind of income data via commerce to a point you've got them.
Yeah, and we have the sales space now in Prepare as well, and actually in France, because France has sort of other requirements at the moment with the invoicing. We've got sales invoice creation in France, and we will continue to expand our own sales space in the UK as well. So at the moment, you can upload sales invoices where necessary, and we'll just extract it like on the cost side, but we're going to continue to expand that functionality as well.
Excellent. So that's the questions clear. So we are five minutes over, so apologies for that, but I really hope it's been useful for everyone. As you can see, both Paul and I genuinely really love this topic. We're really passionate about it, and hopefully that came across. And there's a couple of bits in there that you can take away. For me, the big one is just this idea about just doing a bit better than you were before. So move quarterly to monthly, monthly to weekly, weekly to data, daily, but daily should be the end goal. Paul, if people need support and don't know who account managers are and things like that, how can I get in touch with you to kind of start a conversation?
They can certainly connect with me directly on LinkedIn, or send me a message on LinkedIn or Twitter. That's probably the easiest way, and then I can make the necessary connections if they're not sure. They can also email me as well, which is paul.lodder@dext.com.
Perfect. Excellent. So thank you again, everybody, for taking 15 minutes out of your busy days. I hope you got some value from it. We look forward to seeing you on next month's App of the Month webinar, which I think is about the 27th of June. And Paul, thanks ever so much for joining us today. Great talking to you as ever. And everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. Take care now.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Will. Ta.